Yoga teachers, stop doing this with the heat. Use the heat the way it's supposed to be used. So the Bikram series is the one who started that. And if you read the original book, it was 102 to 104 degrees was the temperature of the heat. Why? Because at 102 degrees, the body starts to detox. And that's why jacuzzis are set between 102 and 104. They're not more than that. You can literally cook the muscles. Your muscles are meat, and they will cook. You see it in the Alaskans. I was working up there last year, and because they sit in those hot steam rooms for a day, and they crank up the heat higher than 102, and they have gray blanches on their skin where they're literally cooking themselves. Don't do that. It only needs to be 102 to 104. You need to sweat and detox. That's it. Now the body will, coming to you from a physical therapist, a healthcare professional standpoint, you can get a heat stroke when you get into temperatures that are higher than that. You don't want to go there. You don't want any of your students to be in that condition. I've treated people with heat stroke. One was a vegetable, for lack of a better word, I apologize, in a bed, and that heat stroke did that to her. That's extreme. I get it. It was down in Key West when I lived there. I was doing home health. The least of that, and this is pretty typical of a heat stroke, is you no longer have a tolerance to heat after that point. So I had some patients when I lived in upstate Florida, around in Ocala, where all the golfers are, the villages. And I had a lady who was a patient. She could not go play golf with her husband after 10 a.m. in the morning because when it starts to get a little hot for most of us, she starts to have all of the heat stroke symptoms all over again. So she cannot tolerate anything over, 80 degrees. And in Florida, it gets above 80 and there's humidity. So she can't play golf, and she's retired and she wants to play golf. Like, you can really ruin a person's life by sending them into a heat stroke. Don't do it. Please stop doing that. And if you do have a hot room, even at 102 and 104, you want vaulted ceilings, because the heat, these days, y'all are putting the heat on the top, on the roof with these, I don't know what they're, radiant heat. They're these new heaters, but they beat down on the top of your head, and it is so uncomfortable. Or if I go to the back of the room usually, and I've been doing Bikram yoga for 30 years. I know I have, at least once a month, and all over the country. So I've been in all the studios. It hits you in the back of the head, and it is so uncomfortable. The heat needs to be high, away from your head, and when you get those tall ceilings, it gives you a sense of expansion, because the heat gives you a sense of compression and closing in on you. So keep those things in mind when you're doing the hot yoga. I love the hot yoga. Keep up the hot yoga. It's my favorite. We call it 26 and 2 these days. I love it. Like, it's my favorite of all of them, because why? I can count on it. It's the meat and potatoes. It hits every muscle and every gland. Keep in mind, Bikram developed this with physicians. His sequencing is intentional, very intentional. He brings the heart rate up, he brings it down, he brings it up, he brings it down. Now, doing flow in that heat, watch yourself. You do not know what you're doing to the heart rate. You do not know if you're sending somebody into heating up their core too hot. I'm watching people do flow in the heat. Those are push-ups. That's a high intensity type of style of yoga mixed with the heat, can bring up the core temperature, and now you're headed towards a heat stroke. Be very aware of what you're doing.